Mr. George begged me to pretend to be his daughter. His wife was in the late stage of cancer, and her only obsession was the daughter who had been separated from them for many years. In fact, his daughter had already died, and Mr. George didn't dare to tell the truth, and I happened to look a lot like his wife. I said, "Sure, but you have to hold a family recognition banquet for me and invite the members of the Johnson family. Tell them that there are plenty of people who cherish the daughter they don't care about. The most regrettable thing in my life is that the Johnson family still hasn't held a family recognition banquet for me. As a result, even though I've been back home for 3 years, outsiders still think I'm just an adopted daughter of the Johnson family. I really don't understand. Why did the Johnson family find an adopted daughter to share the love that should be given to their biological daughter?" It's another day to feel sorry for Mia. My father clearly heard it too, but instead of explaining anything, he said to me with a cold face, "I've said it before, Mia has been filial to us on your behalf for 18 years. This is what you owe her. As long as you can be a good elder sister, dote on her like your elder brother does, and don't let her suffer any grievances, I'll hold a family recognition banquet for you. But you still haven't learned to thank her properly. You're full of thorns." I sneered. Then shouldn't she be more grateful to me for enduring the hardships for her for 18 years? My father flew into a rage and threw a teacup at me. The scalding hot water splashed all over my face. It was so hot and painful. Instead of protecting me at the first moment, my mother pulled me aside and said, "How could you say such sarcastic and mean words? No wonder your father is angry. It's not Mia's fault that the babies were switched at birth. If you keep this attitude, you'll never have a chance to let us hold a family recognition banquet for you and let people know that you're the biological daughter of the Johnson family." My elder brother also looked deeply disappointed and said impatiently while sitting on the sofa, "Grass, is it really that difficult to apologize to Dad? When will you be as obedient as Mia?" I just told the truth, but in their eyes, I was someone who refused to admit my mistakes and was stubborn. I wiped the tea off my face vigorously, and the tears I had been holding back welled up in my eyes. I felt both sad and bitter, looking at my father, mother, and elder brother, who were related to me by blood. My heart finally turned completely cold. I used all my strength to turn the grievances of the past 3 years into despair and shouted, "I will never learn it, and I don't want to learn it either, since you're so dissatisfied with me. I don't want to be the real daughter of the Johnson family anymore. Is that okay?" My father slapped the table hard, and the sound was deafening. "How dare you threaten me with this?" I found it ridiculous and said, "It's not a threat, I'm serious. From now on, you're no longer my father." I thought it would be difficult to make this decision because I was so eager to have a family. Unexpectedly, once I said it out loud, it didn't seem that difficult. Even the heart that had been blocked for a long time suddenly felt relieved. That's right. I don't want to be the real daughter of this wealthy family anymore. This way, the fake daughter won't hate me for taking her position and oppose me every day. I also don't have to be like Shadow, who falls into self-deprecation because she can't get the love of her parents and elder brother. That night, I bought a high-speed rail ticket back to the orphanage. Early the next morning, I quit the family group, deleted the contact information, and left the Johnson family with my suitcase. They thought I was just throwing a tantrum and definitely didn't dare to really leave, so no one came out to persuade me to stay. So I dragged my suitcase, walked a long way to the bus stop, and took a bus to the high-speed rail station. While waiting in the waiting hall, I received a call from an unknown number. "Miss Grass, Mr. George begged me to pretend to be his daughter. My wife is in the late stage of cancer, and her only obsession is the daughter who has been separated from us for many years. In fact, my daughter has already died, and I didn't dare to tell her about it. I'd been lying to her that the child was taken away by someone. You look a lot like my wife, and I hope that you can make her pass away with a smile on her face. I saw your declaration of breaking away from the Johnson family in your WeChat moments. The door of the George family, the most powerful wealthy family in H City, is willing to open for you. The George family, the most powerful wealthy family in H City. I know about them. They are a more powerful and influential wealthy family than the Johnson family. Once you enter a wealthy family, it's like entering a deep sea. I just decided to get out of the sea of bitterness and didn't want to jump into another fire pit. What's more, I have already experienced what it's like to have wealthy parents. Before they found me, I was the deepest obsession in their hearts. But when they brought me home and I thought I would be doted on, all I got was deep hurt. It perfectly explained what it means for a cinnabar mole to turn into mosquito blood. I'm tired and don't want to offer my sincere heart to be trampled on anymore. I don't want to be so foolish again, so I firmly refused. Sorry, I can't agree to your request. However, I heard Mr. George's dull pleading voice on the phone, along with the noisy background sound of the hospital. Can't you really think about it again? I'll pay you to do it, okay? $1 million a day, $2 million. $3 million, $5 million, Miss Grass, please, this is my wife's only wish before she dies. It's also the last thing I can do for her as her husband. The voice was so humble that it was hard to imagine that the person on the other side was the powerful head of the George family, who was known for being decisive in making decisions. I heard that the chairman of the George family is a well-known wife-spoiling husband in the wealthy circle. Now he is lowering his stance to beg me for his wife. I held the phone in my hand and didn't know what to do for a moment. Another voice came from the phone, deep and pleasant to hear, but also putting himself in the lowest position. Miss Grass, I'm Bruce. As long as you're willing to be my sister, I can give you whatever you want. Please, my mother really needs you. She doesn't have much time left. If you can make her leave without any regrets. My father and I will be grateful to you for the rest of our lives. If you encounter any trouble in H City in the future, we'll protect you. I remained silent and didn't agree, but I was somewhat wavering in my heart. In fact, I have met the George family of 3. At that time, I was still living in the orphanage. Mr. George and his wife took their son Bruce to the orphanage to do charity work. They donated a dormitory building and a library to us. They also gave us down jackets to keep warm in winter, hot water bags to warm our hands, and installed air conditioners and heating systems for us. That was the first winter I spent in the orphanage without getting frostbite or shivering from the cold. I'm still grateful to them. I still remember that Mrs. George was a very elegant and smiling woman. She was very beautiful and gentle. I can't imagine that she actually has cancer. She must be in a lot of pain, right? Maybe my appearance can really relieve her pain and fulfill her wishes. I'm not someone who doesn't know how to repay kindness. Since my biological parents like the fake daughter, I might as well be a fake daughter in someone else's family. I wonder how wonderful their expressions will be then. After thinking about it, I said somehow, okay, I agree to your request. But I have one condition. You must hold a family recognition banquet that attracts the attention of the whole city for me. I don't want to be a daughter who can't see the light. I want you to admit me openly. You also need to invite the members of the Johnson family. Tell them that there are plenty of people who cherish the daughter they don't care about. Seeing that I agreed, Mr. George's voice was extremely excited. No problem. I promise you that I will hold the most grand family recognition banquet in the whole city for you, and invite all the celebrities in H City, including the members of the Johnson family. Where are you now? I'll ask Bruce to pick you up. Can you come and be my daughter today? I'll give you $5 million a day. I took a deep breath and said, okay, but I don't want the money. I want love, yes, for example, fatherly love and the love of an elder brother. I've never experienced them in my life, and I want to feel them. Is that okay? I clenched my 5 fingers. My breathing was tense, and I tried my best to hide it so that my tone wouldn't sound like that of a beggar starved of love. Mr. George was amused by my cautiousness. He changed to a more relaxed tone. Of course, definitely, since we've recognized you as our daughter, we will definitely give you plenty of love. I've heard the people of the Johnson family say such words many times. But they were just empty words. Who can't make promises? I was in a bad mood and didn't dare to have any illusions at all. Don't be too sure of yourself. I hate people who give me hope but can't fulfill their promises. I'm at the high-speed rail station now. You can ask my new elder brother to pick me up. After hanging up the phone, I refunded the high-speed rail ticket and went to the platform of the high-speed rail station to wait for Bruce. Soon, Bruce requested to add me as a WeChat friend. I clicked to accept and noted, new elder brother. Bruce wanted to pull me into the George family group. I wanted to refuse and didn't click to agree for a long time, but I found that he also posted a message on his WeChat moments. Found the sister who has been separated from us for many years. She's my real sister. I'm finally an elder brother. Don't envy me. You can't envy me even if you want to. Ha ha ha, even through the screen. I could feel the overwhelming joy. The George family really didn't plan to hide it. It's not like when I was first brought back to the Johnson family 3 years ago. My biological elder brother, Jack, disliked me and didn't post a single word on any social media platform. My desolate heart was suddenly filled with joy. I didn't want to spoil the fun, so I gently clicked and entered the George family group. Bruce, Mom, look, I'm not lying to you, am I? We've found our sister. And now our family of 4 is complete. Mrs. George, is it true or false? Don't lie to me, Bruce. It's true. If you don't believe me, ask Dad. Mr. George, honey, it's true. We've found our biological daughter. We're not lying to you. I've secretly done a paternity test for you too, planning to give you a surprise. If you don't believe me, ask our precious daughter, right? The words, precious daughter, made me feel joyful again. I eagerly sent a message in the group. Yes, it's true, Mom. My name is Grass. I was Grass Duncan, then became Grass Johnson, and now I'm going to be Grass George. I'm like a duckweed drifting with the current. The name Grass was given to me by the director of the orphanage. He said that the children in the orphanage should be like the grass on the wasteland to grow well, because even without love and watering, grass can face the wind and rain and grow vigorously. But no matter how strong the grass is, it will actually envy the flowers in the greenhouse. It longs to be cared for and loved. Suddenly, there was a sharp breaking sound in my ear. I thought it was my new elder brother, Bruce, who had arrived, unexpectedly. The person who got out of the car was my biological elder brother, Jack. Jack's eyebrows furrowed slightly, and he strode towards me. Before he even reached me, his scolding voice had already reached my ears. Grass, are you crazy? Just because we didn't announce to the public that you're the real daughter of the Johnson family. You're going to run away from home. Why do you care so much about other people's opinions? Isn't it enough that I know you're my biological sister? It's not enough at all, you stupid jerk. In order to ensure that Mia doesn't suffer the slightest bit of grievance, they even refuse to announce to the public that I'm the biological daughter of the Johnson family. Why do I have to be the one to endure the hardships? I said mockingly. Who are you talking to? Do you still think you're my brother? Do I really have to be nice to you? Jack probably didn't expect that the sister who used to fawn over him would turn against him faster than turning a page in a book. A trace of panic flashed in his eyes, but he quickly composed himself, snatched my luggage, and said impatiently, "Stop pretending, I just checked. You've already refunded your high-speed rail ticket. Aren't you standing here waiting for me to pick you up? If you have the guts, then really leave and never come back." I looked at him expressionlessly and said, "Who said I'm standing here waiting for you to pick me up? If it weren't for my new father and new brother showing up uninvited, I would have already taken the high-speed rail and left this heartbreaking place, never to return for the rest of my life." I didn't want to waste any more words with him and said, "You can leave, my new brother will come to pick me up." Jack seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. And a mocking arc formed at the corner of his mouth. "Where did you get a new brother, other than me in this world? Who else would be willing to be your brother? Do you really think you're a heartthrob?" "Who said no one is willing?" A strange but gentle and clear voice forcefully interjected. Someone gently patted my back. I turned around curiously and asked, "Who is it?" A gentle and handsome man looked at me and ruffled my hair. He was taller, more handsome, and had a gentler expression than Jack. He even smiled at me and said, "Your long-lost biological brother, Bruce." He snatched my suitcase back from Jack's hand, took my hand, and said, "Come on, brother will take you home." Jack's face suddenly darkened, and he widened his eyes in disbelief. "Bruce, say that again. Whose biological brother are you?" Bruce stood in front of me and smiled wickedly. Was my expression not clear enough? Then I'll say it again. "Jack, the adopted daughter of your Johnson family is actually my long-lost biological sister of the George family. This is the paternity test report. It's genuine, no deception. Thank you, the Johnson family, for raising my biological sister for 3 years. From now on, you don't have to bother anymore." I saw Jack's face turn all sorts of colors, and he was really angry. Staring at that paternity test report, I bet he even wanted to tear Bruce apart, but I suddenly felt extremely relieved and blinked my big eyes. "Am I not the adopted daughter of your Johnson family? Now that I've found my biological brother, is there any problem with my biological brother here? Why should I go with you?" Bruce probably really thought I was the adopted daughter of the Johnson family. He thought the forged paternity test report in his hand was ironclad evidence. He echoed my words and casually glanced at Jack. That's right, you're just an adopted brother that Grass doesn't want. No matter how close you are, can you be closer than me? Jack's face was covered with anger and had turned extremely ugly. He clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked. It seemed that in the next second, he would raise his fist and smash it hard into Bruce's face. I immediately rushed forward and stood in front of Bruce to protect him. That obvious distinction between intimacy and distance was simply adding fuel to the fire. Jack squinted his eyes and stared at me for a long time. Suddenly, he curled his lips into a cold smile. Grass, you deliberately found someone to make me angry, right? Congratulations, you've succeeded. If you dare to go with Bruce, you'll never be able to call me brother again. Jack seemed certain that I didn't dare to really disobey him. After all, for the past 3 years, Jack's WeChat note for me had always been, Shadow Sister. Whenever he called me, no matter how busy I was, I would rush to his side immediately. Once, he was playing with his friends in a bar until 3 in the morning and called me when he was drunk. I got up in the middle of the night and rushed there in a hurry. But outside the private room, I heard Jack joking about me with his friends. The way Grass looks at me, her eyes are full of cautious pleading, like a clingy puppy. That kind of look is really satisfying. Even Mia can't do that, so what if I call a girl like her to pick me up at 3 in the morning? I'm sure she'll rush here right away. The nickname, Shadow Sister, isn't just something I randomly gave her, it's a well-deserved title. I guessed that at this moment, he must be thinking again, how could Grass be willing to give up on me as her brother? She must be angry and deliberately found Bruce to make me angry. But I will show him with my actual actions. Jack, this time you're wrong. I will never humble myself to the dust again just to beg for my brother's love and be the shadow that you show off to your friends. I raised my eyes, looked at my handsome and tall new brother Bruce, and said softly, Brother, shall we go? Bruce took my hand and led me towards the low-key and luxurious Maybach beside us. He opened the door of the passenger seat and motioned for me to get in. I stared at the passenger seat. And suddenly my nose felt sour. Jack never allowed me to sit in the passenger seat of his car. It was Mia's exclusive seat. Jack had a cleanliness obsession. If I ate in his car, he would definitely scold me to death. But Jack's cleanliness obsession was selective. Mia could eat and mess around in his car as she pleased. I had been jealous and protested before. Jack would roar at me impatiently. Mia has low blood sugar and will faint if she doesn't eat. Do you have low blood sugar, actually? I have a stomach problem. I got it when I was in the orphanage. My stomach would hurt when I was hungry. But once when the whole family went on a trip and we had to drive on the highway for 8 hours, I wanted to eat a piece of bread to satisfy my hunger on the way. Jack slapped the steering wheel hard and roared at me in disgust. How many times have I told you not to eat in my car? I showed weakness and said, Brother, my stomach will hurt if I'm hungry. Is your stomach so precious? Endure it. Wait until we get to the service station ahead and then get out of the car to eat. Bruce noticed the tears in the corners of my eyes and asked worriedly, Why are you crying? I shook my head and said, It's okay, brother. Can I eat something in your car? Of course you can. Are you hungry? I'll go to the station and buy you something to eat. What do you want? No need. I have bread in my bag. I was satisfied and lifted my leg to get in the car. Jack followed in disbelief and grabbed my wrist. Grass, you've gone too far this time. Do you know that? Don't push your luck. The more I coax you, the more you act up. Hurry up and come home with me. I forcefully shook off his hand, and the image of enduring the stomachache on the highway that time flashed through my mind. I deliberately covered my stomach and said, What should I do? I have a stomachache now and want to eat something. My new brother said I can sit in his passenger seat and eat as I like, but if I take your car, I have to endure the hunger and stomachache, so, why should I take your car and ask for trouble? Bruce became even more worried. What, sister, you have a stomachache? Then get in the car and eat something right away. I'll take you to the hospital. Wait a minute, Jack seemed to be making a difficult decision. I allow you to eat in the car. Are you satisfied now? His words were as if he had given me a great favor, and I had to immediately fawn over him and be grateful. I felt both amused and sad. Jack, so you also have a day of being nice to me, your shadow. Unfortunately, I don't care anymore. After saying that, I didn't look at his frustrated expression anymore and got into Bruce's car. At this moment, my father called. Did you pick up your sister? Is she just trying to scare you on purpose? and now she's already happily going home with you. I knew she couldn't really run away from home. It's just a little girl throwing a tantrum. You should talk to her properly on the way. Don't always spoil her, or you'll spoil her and she'll do this again whenever she's not happy. Jack looked at his sister who had already left in Bruce's car. He felt empty inside, and it was an indescribable feeling. It seemed that there was something very important that he didn't care about before, but now that he wanted to care about it, he couldn't hold on to it. Hearing his father's nonchalant tone, he suddenly became annoyed. Grass is my biological sister after all. If she's throwing a tantrum, what's wrong with us coaxing her a bit? Is it that only Mia deserves to be coaxed, and my biological sister doesn't? Brandon Johnson was confused. Are you angry with your father? She's being unreasonable and running away from home. Does she still have a point? Jack growled irritably. Dad, ask yourself, does Grass really have no point? In the past, Grass never lost her temper even when she didn't get what she wanted. She always carefully tried to please him. Jack mistakenly thought that this sister didn't need to be coaxed and it didn't matter. But now that he was willing to coax her, Grass was going to leave with Bruce, and he felt very aggrieved. If it weren't for his father's refusal to announce to the public that Grass was his biological sister, would he have been so easily refuted by Bruce with a fake paternity test report, looking so embarrassed? Fortunately, the little girl was probably just angry with him. Let her have fun outside for a couple of days. Could she really not go home for the rest of her life? Could she really give up on him, her biological brother, for the rest of her life? Jack was full of confidence when he spoke again. His tone was much more relaxed. I didn't pick her up. Grass left with Bruce. Forget it, you're right. The more I indulge her, the more she takes advantage. Let her calm down outside for a few days. When she's calm enough, she'll definitely come home, and then I'll teach her a lesson. But he didn't expect that 2 days later, the same thing was being widely spread throughout the wealthy circle. Grass, the adopted daughter of the Johnson family, is actually the real daughter of the George family who has been living outside. The George family has already sent out a large number of invitations. They're going to hold a grand family recognition banquet for Grass. No, it should be Grass George now. Then Jack's shadow sister will become Bruce's vicious shadow sister, and she won't fawn over Jack anymore. Right? Someone went to Jack in person to confirm. Jack's pupils suddenly shrank. What did you say? Say it again. His friend immediately sent over the electronic invitation from the George family. Jack took a look and almost smashed his phone. Grass was clearly Jack's biological sister. What right did the George family have to hold a grand family recognition banquet? It's a rumor. It must be a rumor. I'll call Grass right now and ask her to explain to you in person that all of this is a misunderstanding. He made the call, but it was like throwing a stone into the sea, with no one answering. The next, his mother called. Jack, what on earth is going on? The George family sent us an invitation, asking us to attend Grass's family recognition banquet. Grass was clearly born from my 10-month pregnancy. How could she become the long-lost biological daughter of the George family? Jack said. Grass must want to go home but is too proud to come back herself. She deliberately asked the George family to do this to make us anxious. The George family can't really hold a family recognition banquet for her. Grass isn't their biological daughter. I'll go to the George family right now and bring Grass home. On the phone, Jack's mother said, wait a minute, Mia said that the George family might have been deceived by Grass. Your father has already taken her to the George family and will definitely expose her lies. I have been living in the George family for 2 days. Mrs. George is clearly terminally ill, but she still insists on taking care of everything related to me personally and meticulously. She prepared a room for me, made the bed, and bought clothes for me. There are servants in the house, and she really doesn't need to do these things herself. But Mrs. George always says with red eyes, don't stop, Mom. Mom has never done anything for you before. Now, everything I do for you is one less thing I can do in the future. Mom just hates that God didn't give me a little more time so that I could make up for you properly. Even when she heard that I like ice cream, she insisted on making it for me herself. I felt both guilty and touched. I secretly asked Mr. George, aren't you going to do something about it? Mom needs to stay in bed and rest now. Instead of stopping her, Mr. George rolled up his sleeves and stood by to help. The doctor said your mom doesn't have much time left. Rather than lying on the hospital bed without dignity, it's better to let her do the things she wants to do, as long as she's happy. Last night, Mrs. George even hugged a quilt and squeezed into the same bed with me. She asked me about my life in the orphanage before. I picked out some happy things to tell her, but Mrs. George stroked my face and her eyes turned red from crying. Mom knows that you only tell the good news and not the bad. My grass must have suffered a lot. It made me want to cry too, because I have been back in the Johnson family for 3 years, and my mom has never asked me about my life in the orphanage. It seems that it was an embarrassing past in my life that shouldn't be mentioned. They always say that Mia has been filial to them on my behalf for 18 years, but they never think about it. If it weren't for Mia's biological mother swapping me with her and leaving me in the orphanage, how much less suffering would I have endured? Even so, they still want me to be grateful to Mia. Not only can I not resent her, but I also have to treat her like my own sister and dote on her. Why? I nestled closer into Mrs. George's arms. Mom, can you hug me? I often saw Mia acting coquettishly in my mom's arms affectionately. I was both envious and longing, but there is an insurmountable gap and estrangement between my mom and me. It's like a high wall that I can never cross. Mrs. George reached out her hand and gently held me in her arms, as if she were coaxing a little baby. Do you want Mom to sing you a lullaby? I chuckled and said, Mom, I'm not a little kid anymore. I leaned my head on her shoulder, closed my eyes, and quietly felt the moment. So, this is what it feels like to lie in Mom's arms. It's so nice. Mr. George said that my appearance has cured Mom, but I think it's Mrs. George who is healing me with her love. However, she is in the late stage of cancer and doesn't have much time left. Her health is getting worse and worse. Every day, she endures the pain of the illness and pretends not to be in pain in front of me. It makes me cherish this short-lived warmth even more, and I also want to be a good daughter that she likes even more. I wish I could stay with Mrs. George all the time, but Mia and my dad showed up at an inappropriate time. They wanted to break this short-lived mother-daughter bond between me and Mrs. George and expose the truth. However, Mia couldn't even enter the gate of the George family. Bruce went out and stood at the door to deal with them. I hid behind the door and heard Mia eagerly say to Bruce, Bruce, you've been deceived by my sister. That paternity test report must be fake. My sister can't be your biological sister. Trust me. Mia was full of confidence and seemed certain. It was as if she was about to expose my true identity in front of Bruce immediately, just like in the Johnson family. No matter what I did, Mia would always jump out to oppose me. Then she would enjoy the fruits of victory as Mom, Dad, and my brother stood by her side and criticized me together. But this time, she won't get her way. Bruce didn't even blink an eye. Instead, Mr. George, who was eavesdropping behind me, frowned with a cold face. What's going on? Have they found out? Can't Bruce even handle this little thing well? I kindly explained for my new brother, Dad, it's not brother's fault. Why isn't it his fault? He couldn't even handle a paternity test properly, and your sister found out. Actually, I hesitated for a while and then revealed the truth. Actually, I'm the real daughter of the Johnson family. No matter how flawless the paternity test report my brother faked is, Mia will know that it's fake. Mr. George was stunned. You're the biological daughter of the Johnson family, not the adopted one. I smiled bitterly, surprised. Right, my dad was afraid that if my background was revealed, Mia would be gossiped about by the outside world and be in an awkward situation. They couldn't bear to let Mia be wronged, so they could only wrong me. They also wanted me to be a good sister who doted on Mia. If I couldn't do it, they wouldn't hold a family recognition banquet for me. Unfortunately, I still can't do it. The only thing I can do is that I don't want to be the real daughter of the Johnson family anymore. Mr. George couldn't believe it. This is outrageous. How could anyone treat their own biological daughter like this? The world is so big, and there are all kinds of strange things. Dad, we must never let Mia tell the truth. I'm afraid Mom will be stimulated. Sure enough, Mr. George looked solemn, and there was a bit more pity in his eyes when he looked at me. Good girl, leave this matter to Dad. Since the Johnson family doesn't cherish you, from now on, you can be my daughter of the George family with peace of mind. I'll let your biological father know now that he can never take this daughter back again. Mr. George put his arm around my shoulder and took me out with him. When Mia saw Mr. George, she repeated what she had just said. I saw my biological father, Brandon, standing next to her with a cold face, letting Mia say whatever she wanted. Mia was still chattering non-stop. Mr. George, you've been deceived. My sister forged the paternity test report. Mr. George suddenly said. Which dog is barking randomly at my door? Mia's voice stopped abruptly in fright. Brandon finally spoke. Mr. George, Grass really can't be your biological daughter. I know, unexpectedly, Mr. George said. I had someone forge the paternity test report. What? Brandon couldn't believe it. Mr. George smiled disdainfully. Mr. Johnson likes to pass off the fake daughter as the real one, doesn't he? I'm just following the trend. Why are you so surprised? Seeing Brandon's frustrated expression after being refuted, I felt satisfied and even wanted to add fuel to the fire. Yeah, Mr. Johnson, since you like the fake daughter so much, what's wrong with me being the fake daughter of Mr. George? Brandon's face was even more colorful than when Jack heard Bruce say he was my biological brother. He said angrily, Mr. George, are you joking with me? You know very well that Grass is my biological daughter. Yet you still want to hold a family recognition banquet and say she's your daughter. Mr. George smiled. Since you've had your biological daughter back home for 3 years and still refuse to hold a family recognition banquet for her, I'll do it for you. Why are you so anxious? Brandon was so angry that the veins on his neck bulged. Mr. George, don't push me too far. I'm bullying you. So what? Mr. George's words were simply domineering. Not only will I hold a family recognition banquet for Grass and announce to the world that she's my biological daughter, moreover, if Grass's background is leaked out, the Johnson family can expect to experience my drastic measures. You know whether I have the courage and means to make the Johnson family disappear from H-City overnight. I just want you to know that there are plenty of people who cherish the daughter you don't care about. I just want you to watch as Grass, who used to call you Dad, will only call me Dad from now on. If you dare not come to the family recognition banquet, just wait for your family to go bankrupt. Remember, this is what it really means to push someone too far. After saying the harsh words, Mr. George patted my shoulder. Come on, my precious daughter, it's sunny outside. Dad will go inside and cut a watermelon for you. I was so moved that tears welled up in my eyes, and I immediately followed in his footsteps. Brandon stopped me. Grass, stop right there. Do you really not want me as your father anymore? I turned around and saw Brandon's face. I knew he was on the verge of being extremely angry. The next second, he would educate me severely as usual. However, surprisingly, he swallowed his anger and suddenly said to me gently, Come home with Dad. Don't you want to have a family recognition banquet? Dad will hold one for you. Okay. These words were really forced. I said, no, because I don't care anymore. Since you can choose your daughter casually, then of course I can choose my dad myself. Weren't you think I'm not as good as Mia? I still think you're not as powerful and loving as Mr. George. In this world, using magic to defeat magic is indeed the most satisfying thing. Brandon's body swayed, and at this moment, his face showed an extremely regretful and chagrined expression. He roared in a low voice out of anger. How unfilial. In this world, how can a child dislike their own parents? Why not? I just made a mistake in being born. What's the big deal? Since I'm not liked by my parents, can't I just find myself new parents? Brandon was so angry that he almost vomited blood. It took him a while to say earnestly, Grass, I'm your biological father. How can there be an overnight feud between a father and a daughter? Dad was a little strict with you, but it's because you grew up in an orphanage and no one taught you since you were a child. Parents who love their children will plan for their future. Dad just wants to educate you into a well-behaved and reasonable young lady from a prominent family. These words were really disgusting. If I'm not willing to be a good sister who dotes on the fake daughter and am not willing to give in to her in everything, then I'm not well-behaved and reasonable. Ha. I laughed so hard that tears rolled down my face, and my stomach turned upside down, making me want to vomit. I stared at Brandon with disgust in my eyes. Then it's not just an overnight feud between me and you, it's a hatred that's even harder to resolve than a deep-seated enmity, like being forced to eat excrement. It can never be resolved in this lifetime. Jack rushed over at this moment, his voice especially panicked. Dad, stop talking, don't you understand? Grass has been completely heartbroken by us. He quickly walked up to me and took an unprecedented flattering attitude. Grass, it's reasonable for you to be angry. Brother ignored your feelings before, and brother will change. I just beg you to give brother a chance to make up for it. Come home with brother. Okay, the George family can't want you as their daughter for no reason. They must have other motives. Brother is afraid that you'll be deceived. I slapped away his hand that reached out to hold mine. Get lost. What were you doing before? Then, without looking back, I followed Mr. George into the villa gate. I left the task of driving away the three of them to Bruce. According to Bruce, Jack left after saying harsh words. Don't let me find out what your family is really after with grass. Mrs. George's health condition has always been far from optimistic. On the morning of the family recognition banquet, she was in so much pain that she couldn't get out of bed. Even after taking the most effective painkillers, she was still curled up, trembling in pain. She even vomited blood, staining the bed sheet red. Afraid that I would find out, Mrs. George put away the bed sheet and hid it under the bed. I saw Mr. George secretly wiping his tears while carrying Mom on his back. I also saw Bruce standing alone in the yard, smoking silently, but when they were in front of Mrs. George, they all pretended as if nothing was wrong and discussed the details of the family recognition banquet. I felt really sad in my heart. How about canceling the family recognition banquet? No way. Mrs. George was the first to jump out and object. Mom can hold on. I want to tell everyone that my precious daughter has been found. After Mom is gone, those old friends of Mom will take care of you for Mom's sake. There are fewer and fewer things Mom can do for you. Don't worry about Mom. Mom doesn't feel any pain at all. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I felt extremely guilty. I really wanted to tell her, sorry, Mom, I lied to you. Actually, I'm not your biological daughter. Mr. George pressed my shoulders and said, listen to your mom. There are no parents who don't want to introduce their long-lost daughter to others. Well, there are some, like my biological parents. Mrs. George insisted on getting up and said to me mysteriously, Mom has prepared a surprise for you. Guess what it is? I couldn't guess, until a famous designer pushed in a clothes rack and said, Mrs. George, our design team rushed to finish according to your request. Finally, we managed to make 10 sets of parent-child outfits. Mrs. George showed them to me like a treasure. Grass, take a look and see if you like them. Choose one, and our family of 4 will wear it today. What other people's daughters have, my precious daughter must have too. Mom has prepared the parent-child outfits you want the most for you. I widened my eyes in surprise, and tears welled up in my eyes at once. That evening, I accompanied Mrs. George for a walk. When we saw another family of 3 wearing parent-child outfits also taking a walk, I was particularly envious. In fact, I used my first salary after graduating and starting work to buy parent-child outfits and gave them to the dad, mom, and elder brother of the Johnson family. Just because I didn't buy one for Mia, not only did my mom not wear it, but she also threw it into the trash can in front of me. What do you mean by buying these clothes? Do you want to tell Mia that we are the real family? You just can't tolerate Mia, can you? But clearly, it was Mia who started the trouble first. For example, the bowls and chopsticks at home were all customized by her, and at a glance, they were for a family of 4. Only my bowls and chopsticks were the most common kind at home, as if I were an outsider. When Mrs. George saw me crying, she asked me with a heartbroken expression, what's wrong, baby? Don't you like them? I cried with joy. I like them, Mom. I like them very much. I want every set, Mrs. George said. Then in the future, our family of 4 will each wear 1 set. You too, don't you dare not wear them. Mrs. George specifically pointed at Mr. George and Bruce. Bruce looked at the cute cartoon patterns on the parent-child outfit with a look of disgust and couldn't help but hold his forehead. Mom, what's your taste? This really ruins the image of a domineering president. Dad, what do you think? Mr. George told a blatant lie. I think your mom has excellent taste. Bruce gave in. You win. Your son admits defeat. I couldn't help but laugh. The whole family laughed along. It seemed that in this moment, the dark clouds hanging over the George family were dispelled. The family recognition banquet was held at noon, and many guests came. I stood beside Mr. George and Mrs. George, and they generously introduced me to the guests. I received so many gifts presented to me at the first meeting that my hands were sore. Those second-generation people from the upper class who used to mock me were now following their respective parents, behaving properly. They no longer dared to say that I was just some nobody. They even took the initiative to show their goodwill to me. Given the status of the George family in H City, they simply didn't dare to make me unhappy and instead tried to please me carefully. At this moment, someone announced, Brandon has come to the banquet with his wife and children. I raised my eyes and saw many people greeting my former family members. Mr. Johnson is here. I didn't expect that your adopted daughter is actually Mr. George's real daughter. You definitely deserve the credit for this, Mrs. Johnson. You've really raised a good daughter for the George family. Jack Johnson, the sister who used to revolve around you, has now become Bruce's biological sister. How do you feel about that, Mia? I didn't expect that your sister has suddenly become the one with the highest status in our second-generation circle. I saw that they were clearly extremely annoyed in their hearts, but they still had to put on a standard fake smile. This moment was really satisfying. Grass. My mom came over and looked at me with red eyes. I politely nodded my chin and held Mrs. George's hand, addressing her. Mrs. Johnson, I'm your mom. How can you call me Mrs. Johnson? I pursed my lips and remained silent, showing a distant and indifferent attitude. Mrs. George smiled and explained for me. Mrs. Johnson, don't blame Grass. If anyone is to blame, it's me. I'm a domineering and petty person. Now that she calls me mom, I can't stand her calling anyone else mom. However, I still want to thank you for raising my daughter for 3 years. My biological mom was at a loss for words. When the family recognition banquet was halfway through, Jack pulled me to a corridor where there was no one. My annoying biological parents and Mia were all there. Jack asked me, is Mrs. George in the late stage of cancer and about to die? My heart ached as if stabbed by a needle. And I remained silent with a cold face. Jack was so smart. Mrs. George doesn't know at all that you're not her biological daughter. Mr. George wanted to fulfill his wife's dream of finding her biological daughter, so he found you and asked you to act with him, right? I still didn't say a word. Jack threatened me. It doesn't matter if you don't admit it. Do you believe that I'll go and tell Mrs. George the truth right now? How dare you? At the thought of Mrs. George's condition, which couldn't bear any more stimulation, a surge of anger flared up in my heart. I could no longer control my emotions and glared at them. Didn't you not like me? Didn't you like Mia more? Now that I've taken the initiative to withdraw, why are you still provoking me? You don't love me or care about me, and you won't even allow others to care about me and love me. What kind of sin did I commit in my previous life that I was born into your Johnson family in this life and suffered so many grievances and had no peace? Do you really want me to cut off my flesh to repay my mother and pick out my bones to repay my father before you'll give up? Fine, then I'll go find a knife right now and give it all back to you. Okay. Mrs. Johnson hugged me, who was emotionally agitated. Grass, why would you think like this? Mom loves you. I pushed her away forcefully and forced myself not to cry in front of them. Bullshit. What kind of humble and flattering shadow life did I live in the Johnson family for 3 years? And what kind of life did Mia live, being doted on by you? Are you blind in your eyes or in your heart? You can just pretend not to see it. So in the nature of things, Mrs. Johnson still tried to explain. But we didn't starve you or leave you without clothes. Shut up. Just giving me 2 meals to eat and expecting me to be grateful. You're daydreaming. At this moment, I suddenly realized that Mia, who had been standing beside us just now, was gone. Where's Mia? Where did she go? Is she going to tattle on me to Mrs. George? Mrs. George's body was already at its limit. Today, she endured the pain of cancer and forced herself to hold on, wanting to give me a perfect family recognition banquet. I absolutely wouldn't allow anyone to hurt her. My heart was pounding like thunder, and I was extremely panicked. After searching for a long time, I finally found Mia. Sure enough, she was standing in front of Mrs. George, saying something. I stumbled, as if the end of the world was coming. Mrs. George also saw me. She waved at me, motioning for me to come over, but my feet seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds, and every step was so difficult. I had just gained a mom who loved me unconditionally. And was it going to come to nothing in the blink of an eye? Tears welled up in my eyes and I couldn't hold them back anymore. I wiped them hard, but I couldn't stop them. I felt an indescribable grievance in my heart, and it was really painful. I lowered my head, like a child who had done something wrong, and walked up to Mrs. George, waiting for her to sentence me to death. But I heard Mrs. George's gentle yet sarcastic voice. Miss Mia, what do you want me to do by telling me these things? Slap Grass hard and drive her out of the George family. Unfortunately, your wishful thinking is going to fail. I've known for a long time that Grass isn't my biological daughter, but I just want to dote on her and fulfill this mother-daughter bond. Do you understand? It was like I had heard the most wonderful words in the world. I suddenly raised my head and looked at Mrs. George with tearful eyes, unable to believe it. Mrs. George wiped my tears for me. Stop crying, my dear child. I'm not really stupid. How could I not know that you were found by George to make me happy? You've done a great job, and Mom really likes having you by my side. I swallowed hard. You really knew it already, but why? Mrs. George said, George loves me, and I love George too. He and Bruce want me to leave without any regrets, and I also hope that they think I can leave without any regrets. This is a secret between us, mother and daughter. Don't tell George and Bruce. Okay, I nodded vigorously. And the tears just wouldn't stop flowing. After Mrs. George finished speaking, she warned Mia, Miss Mia, put away your little thoughts. This isn't the Johnson family. No one can bully my daughter on my turf. If even a word of today's matter leaks out, I guarantee that your days as the fake real daughter of the Johnson family will end today. You can give it a try. It turned out that although Mrs. George looked gentle when she threatened someone, she was as cool as Mr. George. Mia's face turned pale, like a rat in the gutter. She was humiliated so badly by Mrs. George. In the distance, Bruce was calling us, Mom, Sister, Dad is going to give a speech and he's asking you to come over. Mrs. George took my hand. Come on, my precious daughter. At this time, Mr. George was already standing in front of the microphone, giving a passionate speech. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Brandon for helping me raise my biological daughter for 3 years. From now on, I won't trouble you anymore. I'd like to formally introduce to you all that I, George, have found my long-lost biological daughter, Grass. Amidst the waves of applause, I held Mrs. George's hand and stepped onto the stage. From now on, my identity is finally settled. I'm no longer the unpopular adopted daughter of the Johnson family. I'm the real daughter of the George family, cherished in the palm of their hands. I saw Mia standing below the stage. Clearly, she was extremely jealous. But she could do nothing about it. I also saw my biological parents. It was as if they had been cuckolded, and their expressions were really something. I even saw Bruce put his arm around Jack's shoulder. I didn't know what they said, but Jack's face looked so pale that it seemed like he regretted it to the core. From that day on, although the members of the Johnson family swallowed their anger on the surface, they often created opportunities for chance encounters in secret. They tried every means to coax me to go home. I ignored them and accompanied Mrs. George every day, being a caring and sweet daughter. One day, Jack suddenly went crazy and revealed Mia's identity within the circle. He also said that the real daughter of the Johnson family had been swapped by Mia's biological mother. He wanted to imply something, but he didn't dare to provoke the George family. His implication was too obvious. I heard that after Mia's background was exposed, the second-generation people in the wealthy circle didn't want to play with her anymore. She finally tasted the flavor of being disliked and isolated. Jack even called me to take credit. Grass, brother has avenged you. After Mrs. George passes away, will you come home? I just thought it was ridiculous. The ones who really broke my heart are you, your dad, and your mom. If you really want to avenge me, then help me deal with these 3 people severely and make them live in repentance for the rest of their lives and have no peace. Otherwise, what right do you have to say that you've avenged me? In the blink of an eye, a month passed. Mrs. George finally reached the end of her life. The doctor said that we should have a good talk with Mrs. George for a while. Mrs. George lay weakly on the soft couch in the sunroom, covered with a soft blanket. Mr. George held his wife in his arms, letting half of her body lean against him. Bruce and I squatted on each side of her, just like on countless nights when we watched the stars. We were by her side, bringing her joy. We tried our best to hold back our tears and chatted with Mrs. George about everyday matters. Mrs. George was already breathing faintly, yet she still asked Mr. George, has Grass's identity information been transferred from the Johnson family? With red eyes, Mr. George said, it has been transferred. The Johnson family refused, but I used drastic measures to force them to agree. Don't worry, Bruce and I will definitely take good care of Grass. Here is the household register. Look, Grass is now on our family's household register. This was something Mrs. George insisted on. Last night, Mrs. George privately said to me, favoritism is more difficult to cure than cancer. Never expect or believe that those who once ignored you will suddenly treat you well, even if they regret it for a while. It's just because what they can't have makes them itch for it. They might want to take you back to the Johnson family after I'm gone, and they may continue to favor the fake daughter in the future. So, Grass, just be at ease. As the daughter of my George family, I've already told your father that I will always watch from the heavens. If they dare to treat you badly, I will cry in the sky. Your father is most afraid of me crying, so he will definitely transfer your household registration here. I was already sobbing uncontrollably. Mom, don't worry, I won't go back to the Johnson family. I will always be the daughter of the George family. Seeing my name on the identity information registration form of the George family, Mrs. George smiled, and as she smiled, she closed her eyes. The doctor said, she passed away with a smile on her face. Please accept my condolences, but I felt as if the world had turned dark. I hooked my little finger with Mrs. George's little finger and refused to let go. Mom, in the next life, can I be reborn in your womb? I don't care. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your agreement. Let's pinky swear. For 100 years, we won't go back on our word. Mom, after hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.